Hi everybody, my name's Scott Hillier. I'm president of ÉCU, the European Independent Film Festival, and independent film director. Thank you very much for coming and joining us for another ÉCU Friday live. We like these very much. We get good feedback, and it's a chance to be entertained, hopefully educated, and have a good time learning more about the independent filmmaking world. I'd like to thank everybody that came to the festival this year, which was last weekend. We're still bathing in the afterglow of the festival. It was a very, very big success from our point of view. I think for the audiences and the filmmakers. So I'd like to thank Rodrigo and the ÉCU crew for making it all work. I'd like to thank the filmmakers that participated and, of course, the audience, which were great and enthralled throughout the weekend. Today's ÉCU Friday Live, we're going to be talking to four of the film directors, or the four of the films that were awarded during the festival. It's always a great thing to talk to the filmmakers. We talk to them during that question and answers, but it's nice just to sit down and have a long-form conversation with them. So yes, four films are going to be talked about today. All award-winning films in their own manner or right. One is Breakfast of Champions. The other one is SALEH, another one is The Grand Book, and then AYITI, which is a fabulous documentary about Haiti. So stick around. We're going to talk to these directors. And first of all, I'm going to start with Andrew. Andrew's a good friend of mine. Has been for a long time now. We're both as old as dinosaurs. Maybe I'm as old as 16 dinosaurs, and he's only as old as one. But Andrew, how you doing, man? You directed the film Breakfast of Champions. And your actress in there, Sabrina, won Best Actress at ÉCU 2024. Amazing actress. Why don't we concentrate a little bit about her? And, you know, the film, we've spoken about it already, but tell me a little bit about Sabrina and how you cast her and how she was to direct.
Sure. I discovered Sabrina working on another independent film in early 2022. And she was in a handful of scenes in this movie, Pound Cake by my friend Owner Tukel. And roughly a year later, when I had the idea for this movie, immediately I pictured her for this role. She's very smiley. She's very bubbly. Of course, the movie has a dark undertone, but her smiliness is actually what's really so haunting about it. So I mean, I basically wrote it for her, and I saw her a couple weeks later, and I told her I'm writing this thing for her. Would she be interested? And she was. She was actually in the process of moving from New York to Charlotte, but she came back to shoot this in Pennsylvania, and I was just thrilled by how she did. I had her read with John, who plays the bartender there, and a couple rehearsals. It was great. They were a great pair, and we got to do this shooting for 2 days, just a little bit of quick rehearsal, and we got a great performance.
You did. Tell us I mean, we went about this a bit backwards because we wanted to talk about her, but why don't you tell us, give us a very brief synopsis of your film?
Sure. So the movie takes place at a dive bar where a saleswoman comes in, and she's basically pitching euthanasia to the bartender to get his customers to become her customers. But it's all done in the most happy, smiling, positive way possible.
You told me when we were on stage the other day at ÉCU about the barflies. Tell the audience a little bit about the barflies.
Yeah, those guys were great there. If there were more acting awards to give out, I'd want it for them. These were local guys. When I got the location, I really wanted to make the movie authentic in that place. So I visited there a few weeks before the shoot, and I asked the actual manager, that the real bar, if any of the locals, the regulars, might be interested in acting. And these two guys, that's Doc and Ed. They are regulars at that bar. They're from Reading, Pennsylvania, and they were just fantastic. The dialogue that was written for them, they did great, but they also improvised a lot. I just gave them like light cues. I said, talk to each other the way you would, and they were very natural, and it adds so much. I really love them in this.
No, the authenticity came through. I mean, because they're barflies, so you can't get better acting than that. So
And there's no way. I was like in New York, and I went to some agency and found somebody who could act. Like, no, you cannot imitate that, and you can't. The stuff they improvise, you can't write that.
yeah, no, exactly. Well done. Next time you see Sabrina, please congratulate her again from us. It was great to have you guys here, and she was well deserved. There was not even a doubt in the jury room that she was going to get that award.
Thank you. She was so thrilled, and I'm thrilled for her. Thank you so much.
Nice, excellent. So now we're going to go to a different part of the world, and we're going to talk to the director of SALEH. Zaki, how are you today?
Hello, Scott. I'm really well. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Where am I speaking to you from today? Where are you?
I'm in Saudi Arabia, East Coast, same city where I shot SALEH.
Okay, so I've been to Saudi several times. It's a very interesting place, obviously. For people who don't know it, how easy is it to make an independent film there in Saudi?
People are not familiar with films, and people have doubts about what kind of films are you making, given that everyone sees what Western media is showing about the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I mean it's a very interesting society. Obviously, it's a very rich in culture and stuff, but not cinematic culture. So I guess you're sort of pioneering your way through there. How did you go about finding actors?
So this guy actually, as I mentioned before, was not an actor. He showed up, and he's actually a mentor of mine, and he was. I talked to him, and he was really interested in trying this as an experience for him, and we talked about it. We went about trying some stuff, some of the ideas we had in the script, and he just nailed it. And I was like, "This is him."
Yeah, no, it's amazing just watching it now. It's just so natural, which is what you want actors to do. But it's obviously very hard to ask actors to be natural when they're acting. So it's a great thing. But tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about you and your sort of path to here.
My path to filmmaking. So prior to becoming a filmmaker, I was a psychologist. I was trained psychologist actually. And I was really interested in social psychology and how the environment shapes how we become and what kind of stuff we do. And then when I started filmmaking, I really tried to have an input from psychology on why we do what we do.
Well, I often think that I do what I do because I'm a little bit silly, but I do enjoy making films very much. So I loved your film very much, as did the jury, and you won the Ahmed Kadir Award for Arab filmmaking, and Ahmed was a very, very dear friend of mine. He produced a film that I directed out in Dubai, and unfortunately he passed too soon. But so it was a great honor for us to be able to honor you and your great filmmaking for this award. So thank you very much. Stick around. We're going to come back to everybody on this, but I'm going to move over to another dear friend of the festival, and I think of mine as well. Arjan is a man that makes animated films. And because animated films are so easy to make, aren't they, Arjan?
Yeah, well, they can be. You can just make a flip book and film it, and you have an animated film. So there are, I guess, different levels of complexity involved in making animation.
We loved your film, obviously. Tell me, you got honorable jury mention, which is good. Because having been a jury member many years ago, it was great for the again, there was no question that you were going to get this. But tell me a little bit about the film. Again, we can even just start with the aspect ratio, which was, I first got onto it and like, oh, where are we here? What are we doing? But tell me how that worked out for you.
Yeah, well, again, with the aspect ratio from our camera expert, Scott Hillier, indeed, it was a deliberate choice to do it in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which was at the time where the story is sort of set, which is the 1920s, was the Academy ratio. So every film that came out had that aspect ratio. So that's one part of the decision to go for that, and it's also something that narrows the screen compared to how we are used to perceive films nowadays. So that gives a bit more claustrophobic feeling to it. So that was another reason to choose this aspect ratio.
And for those of us who weren't in the room doing your Q&A, how long did it actually take to make this amazingly beautiful film?
Well, it may sound very long for some people. So the whole process took about 3 years. But then the first 2 of them were mostly getting funding, developing the story, designing the characters, and then the actual production of the film was the last year of those 3. And to do 20 minutes animation in 1 year with a team of I don't know, 5 people is super fast in animation world terms, and this was possible by using some shortcuts in the technique, like using motion capture for as a basis for the character animation, which is something that I'm developing more now, and it's a bit it's a bit for some people it's a bit frowned upon in the animation scene, but it's also because it hasn't really been done very well yet. So I guess I'm just trying to pioneer my way into an acceptable form for this, because the fact that it speeds up the production and keeps the budget much lower than when you would draw everything, for example, that gives you as a maker gives you the option to do stuff you could never do with the traditional techniques, because then you would, if you, for example, would make a feature film, you would need tens of millions of dollars or euros to produce this, and we can bring this down to 10% of these costs, which will hopefully give us some freedom to produce a feature in the future.
Nice, excellent. Well, I mean, I've got a podcast full of pioneers. I like that very much. This is great. So now we're going to talk about a documentary, which won Best Documentary here at ÉCU 2024. It's very interesting. You know, I'm a documentarian at heart. I believe that's a documentary is a true story, and it's very hard to beat true stories. And we've got, I believe, 3 of the people involved in the documentary here. And hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for thinking of us and submitting your film. So I've got 3 of you guys in front of me right now. So I'm just going to throw a question out, and one of you can answer it, and Rodrigo will catch up. But why don't you just give us a very short summary about Haiti?
Well, Haiti, it was like a great adventure to do that film, because like it was a really long process to do it, and so the theme changed quite a lot during the making of it. At the start, we just wanted to follow the Haitian culture and to get to know it, and try to understand why it's such a powerful culture. And so we got immersed in that country for 3 weeks, 2 times. So we did like a month and a half there. First time was in 2017, and we went back in 2019. And so it was like a journey through that amazing culture, and everything we had to discover each time lead us to another person, another experience that we had the chance to cover, and it was like such an amazing experience.
I've shot many documentaries in my time. What was your shooting ratio? Because you're exactly right. One thing leads on to another, and as well as you can plan, you don't do this. But what was the shooting ratio between how many hours did you shoot versus hours on the screen?
Oh wow! I don't know exactly, but it was like a lot of footage. I mean, basically, I don't know. Do you remember, guys? Like how many hours?
Like a lot, I don't know, like 15 hours. Alexis, ton micro.
50 hours, something like that. And then like you have long interview like with each person for I don't know between an hour and a half and 2 hours and a half. And then you have like all these like people telling their experience, what they know, and then you need to pick up something to create a storyline. And yeah, the process was like huge. It took us like I don't know, like 6 years, I think, between the first time we shot something and the moment we got the final film. Yeah, it took 6 years. So yeah, really long process.
Yeah, but it was because we were doing it, we were filming and writing it in the same time, and we were doing it the post-production on our free time. So it took like many years to finish it.
For directors for documentary, I understand it's a lot, but in the meantime it was like almost as if it were only one director. Why we picked AYITI? You mean, is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, we were gonna follow like a pianist that we know from France. She's half Haitian and half French, and so we used to do like a concert with her, like filming the concert she did in France. And at some point she came up with an idea to do a festival in Haiti, a piano festival. And so that was like the starting process of all of it. At the beginning, we were supposed to follow her and to see what she can create, and by gathering a lot of Haitian people, but also people coming from all around the world to play both Haitian music and classical music on the piano. So that was the starting point. So that's why we went there. And but then we were like overwhelmed by everything that happened there, and it led us to change a little bit the aim of the documentary, and then we started to think about the culture.
Day after day, every day we were meeting someone who was like, "Oh, you want to shoot something about music in Haiti? Forget what you're doing, just follow me. I will show you something. I will show you someone that is amazing." And we were creating this movie just like that. And we didn't really know where we were going day by day. And so after 1 month of shooting, we were like, okay, so now we have to rewrite everything. What are we gonna do? And in the end, the pianist player, she's not in the documentary at all.
Not even there.
Not even there. Like. So yes, so we had to rewrite everything after 1 month of shooting. So it was hard, but yeah.
Hi. I wanted to ask, so you guys said that it was a really long process. I mean, you were there in 2017 and then in 2019. With it being such a long process, do you see yourself doing it again for a different documentary, or was that like documentary experience done? I can take it off the list. I'm done now.
No. Of course, we're gonna do that again. we still don't know with what project, what year, or what is it gonna be about. It's
good to take time to do things, but sometimes you have to go, through it right away, and don't make any pause of months. And also we self-produced it, and so it was really hard to then to sell it. And so we didn't have any producers or someone to buy it, or so if you have someone above you that ordered a film, maybe you go faster in everything you do. But yeah, it's good to take your time, but at some point, yes, you have to.
Yeah, I mean, we want to do documentary again, obviously, but maybe next time we will try to make it in the right order, like to create the film, to get the distributors, like to have a production company that follows you and gets you the budget for it. And yeah, that would be easier, but actually that was our first one. So like we had so much to learn during that process, and but yeah, it's definitely not going to be the last one.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next question comes from Cecily.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
So my question is for Arjan. There's one thing to shoot, but I think animation is way harder. So I want to know, how was the process like? How were the stress levels? How hard it was to make the film?
Stress levels. Stress levels were not that high during the during the production. Actually, it was we knew what we were going to do, and we took so much time in advance of the actual production. The real stress was during the getting the budget together, and it's difficult when you have a project that you know will take a lot of time and effort and money to make, but once you get the green light, you have to just start, and but then until a month or so before that date, you don't know if it's going to be possible or not financially. So you have to keep aside your for me and for other people that were involved, we had to sort of pause our commissioned work, our income work, not knowing if we would get in trouble through it. So it was a big relief when all the funding came through, and but the stress during the making was it was okay. We knew we were trying out for us new things, but also we did a lot of tests beforehand to know that yeah, we could do it. There was a day during the performance capture recordings when we had the last day in our budget to do this, and we needed some extra shots. And it turned out that the room that we were in had a lot of magnetic interference in the floor, and we were at that moment recording the dancing scenes of the girls in the street. There was no other way to do it. So what we ended up doing was there were a lot of how do you say this like mats where if you play like karate or judo, you have these things on the floor, and there were large stacks of them in a corner somewhere. So we made a lot of thick floors with this, so the equipment wouldn't interfere with the metal in the floor, and you can still see it a little bit in the film that the dancers sometimes just sink through the floor a little bit. That's because of that. It was a long answer. I don't remember the question.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Guillermo.
Hello. Thank you very much for joining us. I actually have two questions, but my first one is directly to Andrew. I would like to know how long did you spend with your non-professional actors to actually get the roles as you imagined them, and what advice would you give to young filmmakers who are probably writing their first or second film and actually want to try and work with non-professional actors?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really didn't get started with them until the day of the shoot, and we just kind of jumped into it. So I would say, you know, the advice on that would be choose well, you know, use your instincts. Hopefully, like, you see something when you're choosing the person for a role like that. Obviously, if you have a longer time to select and cast and prepare with people, that's great, but we just jumped into it. You know, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was still kind of feeling it out. There was some things that weren't quite correct. They weren't really used to memorizing lines, and they were they were getting them out of order and whatever, but I kind of just saw what is their difficulty, how can I help them, how can I support them, how can I make them feel more comfortable. I think there was one moment where we just weren't getting something, so I said, all right, we'll move to something else and come back to it. But you know, I knew that I was halfway there just with the way they look, and that just speaks a lot about who the character is, the way they look, the way they speak, just their entire aura. So working with them, you know, again, I think a lot of directors don't spend enough time learning acting. I've taken acting classes for years, you know, when I started out. So to have the language, to know how people feel in front of the camera, that's really helpful. And then just be patient and know what you're looking for. Was there another part to the question I didn't?
No, it's just a different question, but thank you very much. That was very insightful indeed. Do we have time, Rodrigo, for another one?
Yes, ask.
Okay. This is for anyone who wants to actually pick up on the question. Any of the directors. It's about the good old story about funding and getting money for films. But instead of actually wanting to ask what type of funds or strategies do you use, I was wondering if you are actually thinking about ways of subverting this idea of getting funding to do films. I know it might sound a little weird, but well, this comes from a place where I'm thinking about democratization of filmmaking. So that means more films are being done, less money for each film. And the second part of this question is, what's the role of film festivals on this matter?
I can pick up on funding. I think it's great to work with little to no money. I think you just have to be aware of what additional challenges that has. This short was the first short that I directed where I really had the funding I wanted. I didn't have to cut too many corners. I brought the cast and crew down to Pennsylvania, paid for like a hotel, paid all of my crew. And it just, typically, it just means that at minimum, everybody's going to show up. It also means you don't have to like use all your favors. And when it's a favor, people don't feel as committed. And I was just like, okay, we have 2 days to shoot this film. It's out of town, and just everybody's going to show up and everybody's going to do their job. And money makes a difference for that. So, you know, I don't know that it all would have worked out on a zero budget or on a smaller budget. So I think it's important. I think, you know, not every project needs it, but just think about what you need the money for if you're going to try to get it.
And also maybe add something, the first, let's say, I don't know, even 8 years or something for me making films, I didn't have any funding and I had no budget. I just tried out stuff, and it turned into films. And you asked about the role of film festivals. Well, that's quite important, because then these sort of pro-amateur projects, I started sending them to film festivals, and at a certain moment you get picked up by some of them, and this allows you to build something for yourself, but also for your reputation. So after like 8 years, I was actually asked by a Dutch film fund, why do you never apply for funding? Because you're already on international film festivals and stuff. So I guess that if you really want to make a film, if you really want to get into the filmmaking business, and you want to not impress big funds right away, just start stuff you can do. Like Herzog says, do the doable. So there is something that you can do that will be artistically interesting, that will show your current skills, and maybe that will get you further. And you only really need funding if your plans become too big for what you can do by yourself. So I think it's a good idea to just start making and then worry about big funding projects later.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Nini.
I wanted to ask Zaki about, you told us that you are coming from another field, so from psychology. I'm also coming from psychology. And how was it for you that you're switching, like basically probably switching fields and switching whole industries? Can you maybe tell us a little bit of the transformation, your experiences, or what was your first motivation about it?
Thank you for your question, Nini. I think the initial reaction was my family was like, what are you doing with your life? Now you're doing this stuff after all of this education. But I think after all of this recognition from festivals, which comes back to the Arjan's point of reputation and just the recognition you get from festivals, is they recognize this is a legit thing, that it's whole thing. And I think relying back on this field, other field, coming to filmmaking from different fields is just, I think, it's really a material for the films. It adds a lot. It adds a lot of depth as opposed to just coming from pure artistic background.
Perfect. Thank you very much. One other question comes from Ngan.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And I have a question, but not really related to filmmaking, but more like promoting your films. And I really want to ask Zaki on this perspective, because I find like SALEH is one of the few films that have the social media channel. So I'm really curious that as an independent filmmaker, do you find social media helping your promoting your work? Does it help to leverage your exposure to the audience, or not really? And I'm really curious, like what stage that you find it's the time that you want to promote it to the audience on social media?
Thank you for your question. I think I'm not really sure if it's helping promoting the film, but I thought of it as just a portfolio for this film, for this project. So as I move on with my life to different projects, I know what this film was about. If an audience in 10 years, 20 years come back to this project, that it's like kind of a CV for this film. That's what I would think about it. I'm not really sure if it's promoting it as much though.
Okay, thank you. And like if it's not for social media, I would like to ask you and also other directors that which are the ways that you guys find the most efficient way, the most effective way to promote your films?
So when I was thinking about this film, I really did not think about many festivals, any recognition. I was just really interested in this story and in this type of film genre that I was making. So I think that was the biggest promotion, is just to lean toward inwards and find what truly speaks to me, because the making of independent films is really hard. And if you're not really connected to the project you're doing, then you're not gonna give it everything you have. Like many directors talked, they worked on their projects for years. So equally same for me.
I would give one hint for promoting your film, especially for shorts, because this is almost always done for a feature, of course, but to get a well-made poster, because I think people don't always, find it's hard to attract people's attention to a short film, or maybe, I find that like having a poster that looks really professional actually gets people's attention, because a lot of time as you go into festivals, you just talk to people and you network, and you have like 10 seconds to say what you're working on. if you can show them something that looks actually polished, they take the project seriously off the bat, whereas some people just kind of spend $50 on, you know, or self-made poster, and it's just like, it's just a bit of a subconscious turn off. You're like, oh, this probably isn't that serious. I noticed it helped. I got a good reaction because I had professional help on a poster.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And our last question comes from Leah.
So I want to ask Arjan. Maybe somebody already asked you this, but was your movie inspired by George Orwell?
Yes, of course. I think anything that's anything serious that has to do with surveillance and stuff like that will have to sort of relate to Orwell's 1984, and it's actually also in the title of the film, because it was sort of a combination of the name for Facebook and Big Brother. So it's the Big Brother and the Facebook Grand Book. So that's of course that was a big influence on the whole production, on the style, on the story, everything. Yeah.
And following to that comes my next question, which is, how can you create something inspired by art that already exists, honoring it instead of doing something so similar to it? What would be your advice?
To be 100% original, that's, you know, you are you're not a sole entity. So you've always gathered inspiration, influences, and of course you have to be careful not to copy anything. But that's I don't know any creative person that feels comfortable copying. So we are in this business to express something of ourselves. What I do is, for every project, even before there is an actual story, if I know, okay, it's going to be about this topic, and I want to add a little bit of that style into it, then I just start gathering as much as possible data or information by philosophers about these topics, but also a lot of visual imagery that could inspire the style of the film, a lot of music that could inspire the music of the film, and then looking at these folders on my computer. I listen to the playlist I make on Spotify, and then I start missing something, and that's what and then I know that's what I have to make, the thing I'm missing in this soup of inspiration.
Thank you very much, everybody, for answering our questions, and thank you very much for our staff for making these questions. Scott, we're going back to you.
A soup of inspiration. I don't believe I've ever heard of that, but I liked it very much. So we're going to pick things up a little bit because it's taken a bit of time due to some of the technical issues we had today. But I'm going to do a quick run around the 4 films and ask what's next. We've just made the baby. We've spent years and years and years and time on it. What's next? Andrew, I'll start with you. Let's do a quick round of this one. What's next for you?
Sure. Oh man, I have a lot in the oven, or what is it before you put it in the oven? It's just on the countertop. So it kind of depends. You know, sometimes you're not really in control of which project takes off. But I'm working on a docu-series for TV that actually should be. That's more or less confirmed. I just don't know when, in the next few weeks or months. I'm interested to do a feature version of this short. I have other features I'm working on. I'm working with an Italian director. We'd actually like to shoot something in Paris this fall. So we'll see if that comes together. So I'm just kind of developing everything and seeing what's going to work out first.
you're proofing the dough, as we would say when you're making bread. Zaki, what about you, man? What's up next for you?
So my next one is gonna be doing the same style. I'm shooting next year. It's gonna be in an actual event, so I'm doing a hybrid film, and it's about a boy who wants to collect balloons to try to help his sister fly.
Nice, love it. Arjan, what's up next for you, man?
Like I said, all this technical developments we were working on, they are aimed at an animation feature in the future, which seems to be possible, but not within the coming months. So there's a lot of funding applications and waiting, a lot of waiting. So the waiting I will fill with making another short one first. It's going to be a sort of cynical dystopian sci-fi comedy of about 8 minutes or something. So that will keep me busy for a month or 10, I guess.
We'll keep swimming around with that soup of inspiration. I like that very much. What about you men from AYITI? I know that's like a mammoth thing that you've just done and you're finished. Are you ready to strap on your diving gear and dive back into the soup of inspiration?
Yeah, definitely. But I think like the life of that movie is not done yet, because we want to make it seen by the biggest audience possible. So I think we still need to work on that, like to find a distributors or like a platform to that be able to show it to more people than it already did. And then, of course, we're gonna pack up our gears and go back to it and find a new topic, find some new story to tell. And yeah, that's what we want to do with our life. So, but so far, I cannot say that we found like the right story to tell. But it's in the soup of the process is still it's still happening.
Well, I admire your intestinal fortitude to keep going and keep wanting to make it. And I like the fact that you guys still talk to each other. So after working on a film for such a long time, that you're still friends, you're collaborators. That's a great thing. So just before we go back to a final wrap up, I want to just talk about the All African Independent Film Festival, which we've started up. This will be its first year. We'll be in Kigali, Rwanda, on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of September. So here's a little clip which describes what the All African Independent Film Festival is all about. So that's our next little adventure. We jump straight away off from ÉCU, the European Independent Film Festival, onto that. So the ÉCU crew are working really hard on that. So we're looking forward to getting down to Kigali and discovering Africa's best independent films. I'd like to say a very big thank you to the filmmakers that joined us today. The crew here are very happy, to talk to you again. They loved your films. The ÉCU staff know all of the films, appreciate very much that you thought about us. I'd also like to thank Rodrigo for making this all happen. The ÉCU crew all over Paris and all over the world who've come together for this. Again, submissions for ÉCU will be opening shortly. Submissions are open for the All African, the All Asian, and shortly for the All Americas independent film festivals. We're just trying to spread the indie festival word all around the world. Say that 3 times quickly. So many thanks. Thank you, filmmakers. Thank you very, very, very much. You're part of ÉCU now. You're part of the alumni. Rodrigo will be shortly reaching out to you to ask you to be on the submission judge, so we can curate and select a slate of films for ÉCU 2025, which will be our 20th anniversary. So again, thank you very much for joining us on ÉCU Friday Live. Come back and join us again soon. Thank you very much, everybody.